Okay, we are getting started. Hey everyone, Michael and Jill here. Just Jill. Michael is wrapping up a couple things, but we wanted to come on here and say hello. It has been a while. We have been I'm sure, like all of you, super busy doing all of the things for the holidays. And we figured we'd just do a chill room today, just talking about how to prepare for the holidays. And this could be in business or just mentally, or what that means to you, because for some people, actually for a lot of people, the holidays are either quite stressful or they're just not a memorable time. So we figured we would just kind of chat about what that looks like to just prepare like your mind and, going into it, and like how you can actually have some time off and enjoy yourself, especially if you're in business for yourself. So I'll just go into first for business. I think that the main thing that I've learned over the last couple years is to just honestly be as ahead as you can. If you want time off, that's going to be like crucial, is just getting ahead, and just know it's going to be like a total sprint before you get there, or before the holidays. It's going to feel like a ton of work, but it'll be worth it so that you can actually relax. And I think that leads into the next part of like actually relaxing on the holidays. I did a short recently on YouTube about finally relaxing and clocking out at the end of the day and feeling entrepreneur guilt. So I think you just have to prepare and then try and like let go of those feelings, which is way easier than said than done. And Michael's here. Hi.
Hello.
And
How's
it's
it going?
111.
It's 111 right now?
It is
Cool.
half of a wish,
What?
because it's not 1111.
Would it be 3/4 of a wish?
Sure, three-fourths. But yeah, if you're just joining us, feel free to raise your hand. You're welcome to come up on stage. But Michael just got here, and I was talking about how to prepare business wise for the holidays. So starting with business, and then we can talk about like.
Yeah, I think it's one of the obviously the best times because most business owners, this is when they see the most influx of sales and things like that. So it's really great, but it's also definitely the most stressful time. It's the time when probably business owners overwork themselves the most, get burned out the most, stress the most. And so I think that there's some things obviously we learned from like our days in the job world and now in the entrepreneur world of like not to do's. And so I think that's what we always like to do is like take our not to do's and teach people so that they can avoid the missteps. Because, yeah, we've definitely overworked. I remember old jobs working like 16-hour days. Even now, still sometimes finding myself working 12, 14-hour days, just really needing to like find the balance, if you will, of work to not letting it overrun my life and really actually enjoy the holidays. Because this is like, I'm sure it's like I hate that, the most wonderful time of the year, but it is like a really like nice time of year. And so to like actually enjoy it because it goes by really fast.
Yeah, I think that if you're product based, or if you're lucky enough to be service based and you get an influx of sales this time of year, it's just really about like pacing yourself. And especially if you're product based, like our one client gets a huge influx of orders right now because her items are seasonal. She just had, you have to take it like one order at a time and just take your time. And as long as you're communicating with your community or the people who are buying your products, you'll be fine, because then they'll know like, okay, like they're working their hardest. There's just, all these things going on, either with COVID or whatever. But it's just communicating with them and letting them know like, hey, we're getting everything out as soon as we can. We're really sorry about that, blah blah blah. So just, being in communication with them, and then just taking it one order at a time, because the worst is when you try to multitask and do like multiple orders. You always miss something, you always mess something up, and that is the worst. I don't think I had ever sent anyone the wrong. I think I did that once in our first business, is I sent one wrong thing and I felt so
Sorry, we
bad.
sent her like 6 free things. Like,
Yeah, I sent her the correct thing and then like two free shirts, because I was like, I'm so sorry.
yeah, we literally like if we ever make a mistake, we will literally send you all the things in the world to make up
Yeah,
for it. So
seriously.
here's to hoping on your end that we make a mistake because
Yeah,
she was like, oh my gosh, we like gave her our entire line. So, but
yeah.
yeah, so we just kind of wrote 10 things down to think about as far as preparing for the holidays. I put as a business owner, but honestly, as I go through all of these things, they're not really necessarily just business owner things. They're kind of just really everybody things,
Mm-hmm.
just to avoid, like we were kind of talking about, burnout, stress, just the things that come along with the holidays that are just natural type of things. And so I think the first thing to think about is, and this is probably more for a business owner, but definitely for everybody, is like have a schedule. As a type A person, I can't imagine not having a schedule just in everyday life, let alone during the holidays, let alone during the holidays as a business owner. I couldn't wake up and just say, oh, I wonder what I'm going to do today, like in my business. And I just don't think that that's a real recipe for not only like long term business growth or growth in general, but if it's really a recipe for success, because you could do so much better if you had some sort of schedule or plan. And so I think having a schedule just makes things so much easier.
Yeah, and what I will say is a thing that I think you should not do is one, procrastinate for everything to be done until the last minute. That's not
What are you
fun.
talking about? Who
And
does
I
that?
know, I don't know, some people, definitely not me.
Definitely not the people
But
in this room.
or putting it off till after the holiday and you have a deadline after the holiday, that
Mm.
is the worst feeling ever.
Don't be the person that has a whole semester to write the report and writes it the 3 days before it's due.
I literally did that all through
I know, but we're saying don't
college.
do it. But we're saying don't do it not because we don't do it, but because we did it.
And
And we
it's, yeah.
know we're just trying to save you stress and everything by telling you. Like, people don't tell you not to do things because they're trying to sound like they're better than you. It's like, no, 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 because we did it and we know it
Hmm.
sucks. And so we're trying to tell you, like, hey, if you don't want to feel anxiety and stress about all of this, like, just have a schedule. And it doesn't have to be some like, this is where Jill and I had to meet in the middle, because I was very like militaristic about my
Like
schedule,
every
and she
second.
was like, I don't like schedules. And so we had to meet in the middle. I had to become more lax in my schedule and be like, okay, I'm not going to plan like every single minute. But then she also had to say, I understand scheduling is important, and that to go the places we want to go, we're going to have some form of a schedule. And so it was a nice compromise. Now, obviously, if you're just one person, you just consult your damn self, and whatever you decide is good with you. But I do think that you have to have, whatever it looks like for you, some resemblance of a schedule, even if it's like, hey, on Mondays, I do this. But it's not necessarily what time you do it. I just think
Hmm.
that you have to have some sort of like operating procedures if you're
Yeah,
doing that for your business.
absolutely. So number two you wrote down was prioritizing yourself. What did you mean by
I meant kind of like how, remember you were talking about you feel so much better now that you don't wake up and do client work immediately.
that?
You
Hmm.
like allow yourself to have time. I think
Hmm.
that becomes so much more important during the holiday season, because the pull to do work, especially in like say our industry, is so much more because all of our clients are so much busier. So there's
Hmm.
always something to do. Like, oh, a graphic needs to be updated. Oh, this sale is happening. Like, there's so many more moving parts November and December than there usually are on in say like May.
Hmm.
And so that's what I meant by prioritizing yourself, because it can get really easy to like let that go, because you'll wake up and, I mean, if you looked at your phone probably this morning, you would have had maybe 6 messages, like a couple of emails, like, and
Hmm.
stuff that you could have done immediately, which would have taken away from prioritizing yourself.
That makes sense. And you can even say too that prioritizing yourself would look like doing whatever feels best for you during this time. Because I said before you got here, like a lot of times the holidays are painful for a lot of people. They either don't like them or there's sad memories around them or just for whatever reason. So take this time to just do whatever it is that you need to do to feel either happy or inspired or just in a good place. And if that's like going and seeing family, great, or not seeing anyone and just having some alone time, that is perfectly okay. I think there shouldn't be any expectations for the holidays. It should just be whatever feels good to you, and most aligned with how you feel and what you need.
Yeah. So what did we write down as the third thing? Oh yeah, sleep. I probably shouldn't talk about this one.
Michael should take this
I'll take
next.
this. I'll take this one off and let Jill talk about it.
Yeah, so I feel for me, it's easier to sleep during the winter months because it gets darker earlier. I just am naturally sleepier in the later months, but just prioritizing sleep. And that comes with having a schedule and scheduling out your day so that you're getting the things done that you need to get done, unplugging from screen time, and then going to bed and like getting some sort of sleep, whatever that looks like for you. Of course, it's different for everyone. Some people thrive on 4 hours, some people thrive on 12.
Some thrive on none. No, I'm just kidding. I could honestly sit here and tell you why I don't sleep. I drink caffeine way too late in the day. I don't do the hour of screens off before you're
No,
supposed to. I don't.
don't.
And I don't stop moving. And so I'm not the one to talk about sleep. I'm really, really bad at it.
Yeah, I think it's just good for your overall health and like anxiety levels, and just especially during the cold months where you're like more susceptible to getting sick. I think sleep is really important. Yeah.
Oh man, I feel like this is a list is a personal attack on me.
You made the list.
I know, but I didn't realize it. And then I put, well, because we were talking with Lucienne and she talked about the importance of hydration for not only your health, but like your brain health.
You've been really good at that lately. You've been drinking a lot of water.
But as somebody who like literally drinks water nonstop all day,
Well,
you're like the champ of drinking water.
I mean, I am, but
I mean, I am. I don't want to like.
That's neither here nor
Is that
there.
an award you'd like to win?
That's an award I gave myself years ago.
Boom.
It's because we went to school at Chico State, and there was this amazing company called Clean Canteen. You've probably seen them. Hopefully they're like global now.
They are.
They are sweet, but they make these really amazing like steel water bottles, and I got one when I was a freshman, and it just became part of my lifestyle. Like I just have it on me all the time. I'm always refilling it, and I'm just consciously always drinking water. And it's funny because when I was working as an employee, my coworkers would think I was crazy because I was literally going to the bathroom like 6 times a day, actually probably more, because I was just constantly drinking water. But I'm always hydrated, so it's like something I never have to worry about. But now that I've been doing that for so long, I'm really sensitive to know when I am dehydrated. So I mean, it's been just like something I can learn about my body. But yeah, drink water. It's good. Although I feel like there's two types of people. There's people like me who actually like the taste of water, who could just drink it forever and be fine. And then there's people like Michael that they're fine with water, but they need to have some sort of flavor.
I'm sorry, you're just that's like a commercial for water. Drink water, it's good.
Okay, bye.
I imagine that would be like that box water. That would be like a commercial that
Drink
they would
water.
have. Drink water, it's good. Okay, bye.
Good.
That was just so funny the way that you said that.
I don't even remember
if
saying
you could
that.
The inflection in your voice, and just if you guys could have seen her face, it was so good. But yeah, no, I think
You've gotten better though since we got you that.
Yeah, I think for me, what I figured out is it's like with everything, you have to figure out what works for you, and I had to figure out what device, I guess, to have to be able to drink the most water. Because I would try like those big, heavy hydro flasks and things like that, and
Yeah,
I
you
wouldn't.
didn't like those.
No, I didn't like it. It wouldn't work for me. And then I tried bottles of water, but then I just felt bad for the environment, so I just wouldn't drink water. So I'd be like, but I have my one bottle of water, but that would be like 3 weeks old. Not saying it's fine. I didn't even open it. It's fine.
Okay.
But so what works for me is I have this water bottle that I refill that has like a suction top, and it's just I don't know what it is about, but it's been like proven that people like that more, or like I guess it makes people drink water more, and so that's just what works for me. And so I think it was just figuring out what worked for me to get me to drink more water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, water's dope.
Great story. We'll tell that to our kids one day.
I know, we really will.
It'll be great.
Okay, I want to save this one because I want to go to this. Oh no, we'll just go in order, whatever. Okay, next you added boundaries. Boundaries in what? In everything?
Kind of, well, when I wrote that, I was kind of thinking of family, because now all of like your family is either you're around them or they're around you, like whether you travel to them or vice versa. And so it can be really easy to, especially I think if no, I guess in both situations, because you have your routines and then your family has their routines. If you're going and staying with them, well, it can be really hard to like keep your boundaries, because it's really easy to have your own boundaries when you're in, say, your house by yourself. It's really hard when you're in your house with like 12 other people who are your family, who are not aware of like the boundaries that you have. Like, hey, during the morning, the first hour is my own time. Like, I don't like to be interrupted. Like, I do, my morning routine is, but they don't know that. So like someone's going to come up and talk to you and you're going to be like frustrated. So it's just really easy for that kind of stuff around the holidays. And it's not ever usually intentional. It's just you're spending time around people that, for a lot of people, you don't spend a lot of time around throughout the year. And so it just brings different dynamics, which can cause like stress and anxiety.
That makes sense. I would even say like boundaries with like I would even just, yeah, I would say during this time, it's more for me like boundaries with work because, but that kind of goes back to like having a schedule and like planning out, okay, I'm going to get all of this done so that I can have these days off. And when you actually have them off, take them off. Because I think that's where we fall into a trap is like, we're like, oh, we have a day off, but we end up working anyway. And I start to go crazy because I'm like, sometimes I just need a day off. But yeah, I would just say like boundaries with your time is probably the most important because, and just knowing like, knowing what you can take, like when we're around my family, like I know that like Michael likes to go after we've been with everybody for a while, he likes to go and kind of recharge on his own for a little bit. And I respect that. It took me a long time to learn that. Excuse me. It took me a long time to learn that, but now I know like if he goes into another room or if he goes outside, he just needs to like socially charge away for a little bit.
It's because I'm trying to perform a spell to disappear. Just kidding.
I knew it.
I'm just kidding. Oh my gosh, this is going to be on replay too. There's no way to edit that out.
There's not.
Oh well, you get what you get.
Anyway, next was one day off. And I kind of covered that a little bit.
Oh, you know what the best piece of advice I ever received was to schedule everything. Mm-hmm. So like schedule our date night. Mm-hmm. Schedule, I guess not everything because you can't schedule every single thing, but even scheduling your day off. Mm-hmm. Like people think that seems really impersonal and that seems like super like almost fanatical, but I think it's actually a good thing because if you think about it, all of the things you never schedule are the things that usually don't get done. Mm-hmm. Like they always get forgotten about. It's kind of like, when I thought about it was when I went to the grocery store and I forgot the list and I forgot like 3 things. I'm like, well, yeah, if I had the list, I would have remembered everything. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the same thing for me is like, as long as you schedule everything, like everything will at least have a better chance of happening. Like life happens, let's be real, but it's like, you're never going to remember things you don't write down, And that was even like 10-15 minutes later, let alone like an entire week of things happening.
Even if you just have like a designated day where you're like, okay, this is my one day where I'm taking time off and I'm not going to do anything. Like just having that day in helps you mentally like prepare the work that has to be done in the inordinate amount of time that you're setting. So I think it's totally important to schedule like days off, and especially around the holidays when there's like just so much going on. It's nice to like plan to have some days off so that you can either get out of the office or get out of the house and just be active.
It sparks creativity. It like allows your mind to recharge. There's just so many good reasons to do it. Like even for someone like me who's like just enjoys work and could be happy working all the time, like because I'm doing what I love doing, I still need to like have that day because I find that if I work all of the time, then creativity starts to drain. I start to become blocked. I start to get more fatigued, and so even I need like that day.
Yeah, that makes sense. So next you put commit and stretch goals, which is interesting because we're at the end of the fourth quarter. We're at the end of this year. And so I think it's
final count.
Oh my God, get out. I think what happens around this time is a lot of people try and squeeze in like 30 different goals to get done before the new year because maybe they haven't hit them or they haven't focused on them. What do you think about that? I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah, I've always thought that you should just stick with like a goal for each area of your life. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of like all those, but there's like 7 different areas of your life. And so you really shouldn't have like more than maybe 2 goals. Cause like you said, then it gets a little ridiculous. I always loved the book, The 12-Week Year, because then you build your goals not based on an entire year. Cause it's kind of the same thing we were talking about earlier. Like if you have a whole year to do something, when are you going to do it? Like the friggin' last week, or maybe even the last like 2 or 3 days. But if like you're evaluating a year based on 12 weeks, like you're trying to get a year's worth of results in like 12, like you can't afford to take like a bunch of time off. You couldn't take like a week or 2 weeks off because technically a year is only, 12 weeks. You took off like a good portion of it. And so that's how I kind of like think of it is like that you have to have the commit and the stretch goals.
I like commit and stretch goals. I think that's a really. Can you break that down for people?
Yeah, so it's like that saying. I was trying to think of it earlier, where I'm gonna butcher it, but it's if you shoot for the moon, you'll land on the stars, or if you shoot for the stars, you'll land on the
I think
moon.
it's that.
That one, it's one of those. I don't know if you want to come on stage and tell me that I just butchered that, please. But so basically, you should always have something that's like crazy, because say even if you don't hit it, but you get further than your commit goal, like you still did better than, I can't remember.
So an example would be like, okay, I'm gonna sell, or I'm gonna sell 10 products by the end of the year. That's my commit. My stretch is 20 or 30. Something that's makes you a little bit uncomfortable, and you'd have to give a little bit more to make that happen. But I mean, if you said that you were gonna sell at least 10 and you set your stretch for 30 and you hit 20, you'd be super pumped because you stretched yourself and hit more than just your,
Yeah,
and it keeps you going.
and one over, I prefer ones that you can actually control. So like I can't control if people buy stuff, but like I could do say 10 lead reach outs each week as my commit, and 20 is my stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can control how many times I reach out. So whether I do or don't isn't contingent upon somebody else buying something or someone doing something. Like it's that extreme ownership book. Like it's 100% on me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I'm going to go to the gym twice a week. Like nobody else controls whether you go to the gym or not. You do. And so it'd be like commit to and stretch for.
Mm-hmm.
And so say you end up making it 3. Well, that's cool. If you did that every single week for 52 weeks, you'd have gone to the gym of one. I was like, I'm trying to do math 52 more times than you would have if you just did the commit goal. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to have both, because it stretches you. Because then what if you hit the commit goal, say in a week out of like a month, and you don't have any sort of stretch goal? You're gonna be like, oh, I already hit like my goal.
That's really I'm glad you reminded me of that, because that's true. You can't control certain goals. Like you can't control how many followers you're going to have, how many listens you're going to have. Those are external results that you can't control. So you set goals around things that you can control, because if you're going to do something like that, like, oh, I want 10,000 followers, it's just not going to happen. You're going to set yourself up for failure. So it just makes sense to be like, okay, well, I can post every day. My commit is I'm going to post on Instagram 3 days a week. My stretch is going to be 5 days a week. It's things like that that you can actually control.
Yeah. So like wisdom is an example. Like if you wanted to grow like 1,000 followers, like don't make that the goal. Say, I'm going to do 2 half-hour talks on wisdom every week and go and talk twice a week in other people's talks. Mm-hmm. Like those are things that you control. Like you do your own talks, like you go into other people's. It's not like, because you can't control if people follow you or not. That's really has nothing to do with anything. And so like just really basing it off of things that you can control, because then you can measure them, which is definitely one of the, if you smart goals, like the M in there is measurable. It has to be something that you can actually measure.
Mm-hmm. This is a good one. This is one for like
the record books.
Definitely for business. Oh my God, you were on one today. This is definitely one for business, but it's have a way to capture the increased traffic. So yeah, if your product and some service base, you know that right now you're getting a ton of traffic to your website. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of people buying. So it's just figuring out a way how you can capture that traffic. So that, what did you mean by that? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's just natural that everybody's going to see increased website traffic, increased social media traffic. Like businesses just do, because people are shopping now more than ever. Mm-hmm. And so it's just natural that you're just going to see, no matter where it is, it could be a social media platform, a blog, even on apps like social audio apps, because the weather's bad. And so you'll see more people inside. And so I think it's just, like, do you have a way for people to stay connected to you after the holiday season?
That's very true. It's smart to definitely do that, so that then you can start nurturing them as customers and to be repeat buyers. So that makes a ton of sense.
Definitely. Oh, I see someone's waiting right now, so I'm going to click this on here. Let 3, 2, 1. Let's see here. Oh, it's been so long.
I know.
Good old fashioned 3, 2, 1. I love it. Good old fashioned.
Royce, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me. How do I say it? Michael and Jill
That's us.
Yeah,
Leonard.
hi.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I don't know a lot about the app I joined today. Um, I've kind of been doing a little bit of recon, so to speak, on some of these newer social media endeavors, and it's interesting. There's an app like this called Stereo. And I had bumped into it like a year ago, and this is very new. So thanks for having me again. You all were speaking about holiday interaction, right? Like like post like Christmas and maybe some New Year's stuff. Could I ask, has it been difficult for you to stay in contact with people after the holidays personally? And this
I would say actually the only people are Jill's grandparents because they live in a remote area and they don't have cell phones. So it's been hard to get a hold of them because we would go up and see them or they would come down, but they're older, they're in their 80s. And so obviously, with everything happening with COVID, they're very susceptible to getting sick.
I think he might have been talking about business wise. Were you
Oh,
talking about in terms of business?
Actually, I'm a very in general speaker.
Oh,
So
okay.
like I look at personal relationships like similar to business ones, right? Like you got coworkers you hate, like I hate you, but like I have to be with you because I make money. Like so it's a similar deal with family. Like I hate family sometimes, but then I love you in 2 more seconds because you're family, right?
Yeah.
for
Right.
real.
So I mean, to me, it's all sort of an abstract social stratification thing, if you will. But I mean, I digress, right? Like like if you have trouble with business, I'd imagine, you know, yeah, you probably have a little more incentive to be driven toward making that connection. So yeah, if it was with business, um, yeah, did you have an instance? That's what I was. Yeah, both were cool. If you wanted to share.
I mean, I think it's interesting because it's easier to interact with people, but the easier it is to interact, the more impersonal it is. And so things like text messaging and emailing are really impersonal to me, but that's why I like social audio because it's the polar opposite and feels more personable. So I just think there's like you were kind of mentioning a spectrum. Like I feel like there's a spectrum of social media and social audio as far as like the intimacy and relationship building, and we kind of veer more towards the side of like video and voice and social audio because we're all about relationship building, and so those mediums are more focused on that as opposed to, like I was saying, text and things like that, which can feel kind of impersonal, and it's really a lot harder to build like true engagement and community.
I really appreciate that. I like for me, I lumped all of it together, right? I was like, oh, because I don't know if you all are familiar with an app called Clubhouse, but
Yes, we are.
yeah. Well, I'm a part of the African American community there, so there's a lot of very interesting topics that happen all the time, and a big part of the conversation in the Black community essentially is what what are we going to do to help the up and coming generation benefit from being a part of the experience, right? Because we want to benefit from being a part of the experience just as much as our contemporaries. So I lumped it all together in social media because people find so much profit in social media. It doesn't matter how you want to look at it. Like this is a brand new way that you can incorporate digital, just everything, digital marketing, the fiscal side of it. You can just really benefit. So I was just telling people we have to become more privy to things like the wisdom app, stereo, uh, utilizing the mechanics, getting the following, getting the social currency, all of those things. So it's huge to really get to the bottom of this social media thing, and I speak about it in my spaces. I think what you're doing is great. Staying in contact with people, I think that was the idea with social media anyway. I hate seeing it grossly abused. So I think this is
Mhm.
a good thing. I think that we should be figuring out how to stay in contact with anyone that we see value in, and we should make those new connections. So thank you for having me on stage. And you guys are pretty cool. You guys are all interactive and such. That's how you do it.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming up. And I think you make a really good point too, that, now that the next generation is coming up and accessing social media, and Michael and I are millennials, so like we saw like social media, or we saw the world before social media and then after social media. So now it's like with the next gen coming up, it's like, okay, well, how can you create a space that is safe for the next generation to come in as they are, but then to also feel connected, which I think is, you're absolutely spot on, that that is the point of social media, and absolutely gets forgotten that that is the whole point, is that it's about human connection. It's about people not feeling alone. In business, it's, connecting to people who are looking for whatever it is that you're selling. But it's not something to be abused or anything like that, because I don't know, it's just, I feel like karma, things like that, like, just don't do that. But really it's about like creating that genuine connection that people are really longing for, especially in the last 2 years with everything going on with COVID in the world. I think it's just absolutely necessary for people right now, because we're isolated, to be hopping online, to be finding their community, finding the people that they connect with the most, so that, people don't feel so alone in the world. Because I think that that's one of the things that all of us share in common, is we just want to feel seen, we want to feel heard. And we absolutely love Wisdom, because I think that this is an app that really encourages people to get down to the one-on-one level, or as we would, two-on-one level, and really get to know someone for who they are and not just like what their profile says.
Absolutely. Thank you. And yeah, to one step further, if you've been on Clubhouse or Stereo or any of those things, some of the content gets a little raunchy, respectfully, strategically as well. Like, everybody knows that certain subjects sell. That's
Oh,
good, right? But at the same time, there is there's a certain quality to concession. And what I mean by that is, if we're going to get down to the matter of fact, right? If we're going to really have a serious conversation, there has to be a certain level of maturity. There has to be a certain level of couth, just for the sake of the subject, just so that way people can get to the bottom of understanding. You can have some civil discourse, some contention, because those are the things that help us find out where we're finding the divide in the communication and keep us from being progressive. That's my opinion. I don't think that people really want to be at odds. I just think that people are trying to get to the bottom of something, which is fine. I like figuring stuff out. Love puzzles, but I think we've lost a lot of that, especially since we've been desensitized to the value of a person. Um, we kind of see people and take them for granted. So it's a good thing to figure out how to get to the bottom of this social media thing. I talk about it a lot in my spaces. If you follow me, I'll be doing some stuff here on Wisdom. I'll just be speaking about stuff going on in the African American diaspora, or just the African diaspora in general. But the African American diaspora is very, very interesting, and I want to shed a little light if somebody wants to get an educated vantage point. Um, and I'm offering it free of charge. This is very valuable information, in my opinion. And I think we should all be willing to have a good conversation. So this is my attempt to be kind and talk. Thank you guys for having me. I'm gonna keep on listening to you guys, but this is my first day on the app, and thank you, listeners, for not leaving, because I can be a bit insufferable. That's what some of my friends from school tell me. They're just like, "Man, you can rant," and I'm like, "I'm sorry. I just want to talk to you." And they're just like,
ranting is
"Man, like."
fun.
Yeah, ranting is fun. No, that's what this app was for. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I felt guilted into silence, but that's okay. People have different tolerances, right? We're cool. We're all right. We're cool.
Well, you're always welcome. You're always welcome here, Royce, and we're so happy that you're on the app. And we just gave you a follow, so we can definitely be notified when you do rooms and talks. So thank you so much. And with your last 30 seconds, I want to know what made you want to come and check out the Wisdom app.
Well, I was on Clubhouse, and everybody in Clubhouse is having the same question at this point. How do we actually speak to each other? There is no more civil discourse anymore. People used to get on the app and they used to network. They used to make connections. And some people still do. Don't get me wrong, but it's an audio social media app, and to me, this is the first contemporary era like social media transition. So we need to get on top of it. So I'm here trying to figure it out.
I
Love
love
it.
it. Thanks, Royce, for coming on up. So
That's
cool.
so cool. Hey, I think ranting is seriously underrated. I
Yeah.
think it is so fun because especially when you're chatting with someone who is like you're feeling it, the energy is there, and sometimes you have to, at least for me, I kind of have to go on a rant to get to either the core realization of my point or to even discover more things that I had thoughts about. God,
Well,
I just
you
sound
gotta
like an idiot,
well
but
you
it's okay.
well you gotta figure out, are you the kind of ranter that likes to rant in front of people like a comedian? Or are you the kind of ranter that likes to go on a rant where you close the door to your room after you walk away from people and you go on a rant like alone and then you walk back out cordially? So if you're the first one, Clubhouse is for you because you can just rant in front of everybody you can see and it's fine. You see all the faces. If you like to rant in alone, you do it here.
Okay, well,
Because
I think that all rants are not created equal. There are different types of rants. There's the type of rant where you've just spent the evening with someone, you get in the car and you look at your significant other and you're like, my God, that was terrible, or whatever. Or there's the rants where you're like kind of figuring out an idea and you kind of have to go on a journey. Come on a journey with me. Like you have to go on that journey to get to that point. You're laughing at me,
this
but
is
I make
this is
sense.
my face of the person who's been listening to this entire conversation, wondering how the GPS led us so far off.
No, but that's the beauty of conversation is that it can literally go anywhere. Why are you laughing?
Just funny.
You're
I just
not.
love
It's
you.
not funny.
I just when Jill like goes off on something, it's like really cute because like in her face, why you? I just called you cute. What are you talking about? Why'd you give me the eye roll thing?
Because you're like, oh, look at you trying to think. You're so cute. I'm just kidding.
Literally not what I said at all. You hear what you want to hear.
But yeah, no, he's right. It's really hopefully social audio will help people kind of start to actually communicate. But I think the problem is that none of us are actually taught how to effectively communicate when we're younger. You have to kind of learn when you get into adulthood. Like I had to learn like, wow, I wouldn't accept anybody else's like opinion but mine. And by anybody else, I mean yours. Like, no, remember? Because I was
Yeah.
like that. I was really like that. I would be like, that's nice, but you're wrong.
Size, your opinion is trash. No, it actually got me thinking, well, maybe the reason that, because he was saying it's hard, there's not really a lot of like exchange on Clubhouse anymore, is
Mm-hmm.
maybe it started wrong. Maybe it should have started this way where it's one, because if it's hard to
Oh.
communicate, why throw like 50 people or 180 people or like 500 people in one? Like, what do you expect to happen when no one knows how to communicate? You throw like 500 people in a room. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think? Cordial communication is going to happen? But when it's one on one,
Yes.
like it's, hey, I'm speaking, you listen. I speak, you listen.
I seriously, I know I told you this the other day. My freaking pet peeve with like certain podcasts is when people talk over each other. Because there's a podcast that I will not name, but I know I told you,
It
and I
shall be
was
named
so
in the cliff notes.
they the podcast that he should who shall not be named. Anyway, is this podcast. I love them, and then they had a guest on that I really liked too, and there was four people all friggin' talking over each other, and I was like, oh my God, I can't listen to this. It's madness. But I think it's like not necessarily talking as it is listening and like actually understanding and putting yourself in this other person's shoes and trying to see life from their perspective. I don't think we're necessarily taught that, but I think you're right. Like, you need to come here first before you can be trusted to go over there.
Yeah, you don't just skip straight to, whatever. You don't.
Can't think of an example.
No, I was like, yeah, you got to do the diapers first. You don't just go straight to the toilet. Got to do the
Yes.
potty training
See, I
first.
was thinking something more your
I
vibe
was
is
just
that
holding.
you
I was
don't
just
go
holding a
great to the
child.
NBA.
Well, I was just holding a child
That
over.
is true. For Thanksgiving, we
Yo,
saw
check it out, guys. I am the baby whisperer. I
he
got a
is
child to fall asleep, and he's only fallen asleep on one other
on his
person in
mom.
his entire 7-month
Uh huh.
existence, and it was his mom. What's up?
Yeah,
And
our
then he got
friends.
promptly terrified awake.
Poor thing. No, our friends were in town. He's basically my brother, but long story. Really close friends of ours who's basically my brother. They have a little baby who's 7 months, and we didn't get to see them last year when she was pregnant because of COVID, and they got to come out this year, and we got to see them. And during the meal, Michael held him for a little while, and actually for a long time, probably for like a half an hour, and he fell asleep on Michael. It was really sweet.
Well, if you're a parent or you've been a parent, you know that when someone offers, especially in the beginning, to take your child, you're just like, yes. And so it was like when they're trying to eat, and so like trying to hold a child, and I'm a quick eater, and so I was like, oh, I'll hold, and just to give parents like a break. Plus, then I don't have to deal with people being like, oh, when are you going to have kids? Be like, I'm just getting my fix right now. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
don't worry about
That's
it.
why like I'm always down to like pet sit, babysit, because then I just get my fix through other people's animals and children.
That
And
is
it's
true.
cool.
That is definitely true. But yeah, as far as I think the only thing that we had left on our list was show people behind the scenes. If you want to go for more of like social media, like right now, record everything. Record you packing orders, record you doing
Sleeping, of course.
no business wise, fool. Michael hates it when I call him that, but I'm going to call him that.
That's all right. I'm trolling you right now, so
That's
I guess
true.
it's a
So
fair
is
trade.
Steven.
Stupid thing is telling me to stand. Does anyone else hate when your Apple Watch tells you to do things that you just don't want to do? It's like I'm sitting down and it's telling me to stand and it's telling me I'm almost there. But it's like you look and you're only 50% of the way and you're like, that's not, it's like when
That's
people say,
false.
it's like when people tell you to bring a few of something and so you bring three, but they meant eight. Like you're supposed to know that a
Oh
few
my
means eight to
God.
somebody. Anyways, side
Where has
tangent.
this talk gone? But yeah, so for your social media, for all of that, show like film everything. Film like the amount of orders, film you packing orders, film you just doing any kind of behind the scenes for your business, and film as much as you can because you can spread it out over the next couple months.
Do one better and go live and film it.
That's true.
Like go live with you packing orders or you live. I'm trying to think what else you could go live. I didn't have anything written. You could go live and show like you answering questions.
Mm-hmm.
I always think I saw that done a couple years ago. We had a coaching client who she did that. She was getting a bunch of questions. Excuse me. And she went live and she had it behind her and she was showing her computer screen and so you could see the question and you'd see her answering it and she was just answering questions and then
Oh,
she'd turn
it's clever.
around and she'd answer like if there's a question on Instagram. Yeah, her live got up to like it was a lot. It was like almost 100 people
Mm.
because it was like really good and she's answering the FAQs in real time because she was launching don't quote me, it was a course or maybe a coaching program, I don't remember, but it was really great because she was getting a lot of questions. And I think sometimes when you see like a sales page FAQ, you're less
Mm-hmm.
inclined to read it than if someone's answering them in real time.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a neat little trick.
Yeah, and then you had put on and off time. Did we cover that? I don't know if we
I
covered
mean,
that. We
so
kind of covered that.
like have a as much as like an on and an off, like have as much of a, it kind of goes back to scheduling, like have an on, like I'm going to start at this time and I'm going to stop at this time because it can be
Mm-hmm.
really easy to like, oh, I took a break, because I had something going during the day, so I'm just going to work until 8 because I kind of took a little break in the middle. So then now like your boundaries get really kind of like muddled and it just really kind of screws everything up because like you have to understand, I think that's when we have to just give ourselves permission that life happens and that no matter how much, I'm talking to myself right
Yeah.
now, no matter how much we schedule things, Michael, like life happens and like you can't, like you can't stay awake 24/7 and work all the time.
Yeah.
And so you just have to like be done, just like stop,
Yeah.
and so
I am very good at that.
you're very good and I'm terrible at it.
I'm very good at
Is
being
this
off, but I
marriage?
am not good at being on because I will like work for 4 hours straight and then I'm like, I'm good. I don't want to do
Who said
anymore.
you had to work any longer than that?
I don't know. Societal pressure. Back again.
Boom.
I
Load
made
it.
I made a short. You guys got to go watch it. It's so funny. It's like me sitting down to enjoy like my time off, and I like kick down the door, and I'm like entrepreneur guilt, and it's Luda.
Well, I
It's
think I
so
read a
funny.
blog or a statistic very recently that said the average worker only does 2 to 3 hours of work at work anyways.
I couldn't believe it when
So
you told me that because when I was still working on an employment, that was literally me. I would get all of my work done even during the busiest time in the first hour, and then I'd have to pretend to be busy until lunch, and then I'd take my lunch break, and then I'd have a couple more emails like come in, and then I'd get those done super fast, and then I'd have to pretend to be busy the rest of the day. And that was always so like exhausting. You'd be like, how was your day? Oh, it's so boring. I'm so tired. And you're like, why was it busy? No, it wasn't. Because I literally had to pretend to be busy because you'd get in trouble if you looked like you weren't doing anything. But it's
Shout
like,
outs to all our former
but
jobs.
I was always getting work done. I was always getting work done fast. And then there's only so much cleaning you can do and so many extra projects. I'd have like all these extra projects done. And then I'd be like, okay, now what? It's
Never.
like Cameron Diaz in The Holiday when she unpacks and she's like, now what? And then she tries to leave. Same.
That was beautiful. Makes me wonder now what everyone's favorite holiday movie is, but I don't know if we
That's
can go
not
down that
the
rabbit hole.
that's
That's
not
not
the
nope.
title of this
That's
room.
nope. It just is preparing for the holidays.
Yeah. I guess it's, don't put so much pressure on yourself is like the main consensus, and like do whatever feels best for you, because sometimes the holidays are really painful for certain people. Sometimes people dread them. Um, Family ties might be weird or lost. I think it's just taking that time for you and like doing what makes you feel good. Like, what is a holiday tradition you want, or do you not want to celebrate it?
I think it's just worrying too about things you can control. Like you can't control the amount of sales. Like you can just control like the content you create, your consistency, things
Your
like that.
customer service.
Yeah, the way you treat people. So I think it's much more, your efforts are much more served on figuring out some way when you're worrying about something you can't control to like stop yourself and then focus on something you can control. So if it's like you find yourself worrying about sales, maybe stop and say, okay, well, like I can control the content that I create. So maybe like create another piece of like just do something that you can control so it keeps your mind off of the things that you can't control. Cause that's,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, that's time wasted. Cause again, you're stressing yourself out and giving yourself anxiety for really no reason because regardless, like you can't control
Yeah.
them. So
Excuse me. The holidays are also a great time to give back. And like you should really you can get into the habit of giving back all year, but that's definitely a muscle that you have to work up to. So if you're finding yourself like it's a sad time for you, maybe giving back in some capacity would be a really fun thing for you. We like to do like gifts for underprivileged kids, but I mean you can find things anywhere. You can find soup kitchens. You can even just pay for the Starbucks for the person behind you, or you can even give like a really nice tip to the Starbucks barista. I think it's just like a lot of people, you never know what somebody is going through, and you never know if that like one little hint of kindness could just change their day. So just do some sort of giving around this time of year.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We've been very, very busy. I hate saying that because it always sounds like an excuse, but we've been really busy.
Yeah, we've had a lot going on. We've gotten our YouTube channel up and going.
Well, we had like a
Um,
bunch of really important collaborations, and so those
mhm.
kind of took precedent for a little while.
Yeah.
But
Plus, we had a lot of client work, and like we have some clients who were getting prepped for Black Friday, getting prepped for the holidays,
yeah,
just some massive marketing
when you run a
campaigns.
social media agency or a digital marketing agency, like you're also it's like Black Friday and the holiday season for you, especially if
Hmm.
you work with product based businesses,
Hmm.
because you are them in
Yeah,
essence. Like so, you're not an employee of them, but you are like an extension of them, and so
exactly.
like their stress is your stress, and so it's like just figuring out kind of and like as we're speaking about all these things, like I wrote these things down because we were trying to figure out boundaries. Like we really want to do wisdom, but like we weren't putting it on our schedule, and so we were
Hmm.
just like, oh, we're too tired, like we have other things to do. And so now it's like, no, we have it in our schedule now. And so like literally just me learning from mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna be on here quite a bit more. We're gonna shoot for at least 2 days a week.
You said Monday, Wednesday.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday is kind of what we were leaning toward. And then we were thinking, I mean, I love like pop up rooms, just like random fun pop up rooms at night. So maybe we can figure out like nights for pop up rooms, because I really enjoyed those in the beginning. Plus, then a lot of people are off work or they're commuting home or something like that. So yeah, we'll be on here more consistently. We just had to get our feet on the ground with business things first.
Yeah.
We had to get prepped for the holidays, and now that we're prepped and we're good, we're good.
I thought you were gonna say prepped and ready
We're
to go.
prepped and primed, locked and loaded.
Oh my gosh, you with the puns.
You with the this going
The
on. I
words.
don't know what this is. What is this happening? Yeah. Anywho, well, shall we wrap up?
I think we should.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We will be back on Wednesday. Time TBD, because I don't know if this is the right time.
I don't know.
Okay, Michael's gone. Okay, Michael's not here. Michael has checked out.
No, the way you said it, it just sounds like you had to check with some sort of higher power. This does not seem
No,
like the
like
intended
because
time.
I don't know if this is the best time. Like people might be like still working, or it's just like an awkward time.
Well, who are you going to check with?
I don't know.
Are you going to poll the wisdom community? Hello, wisdom community. We'd like to poll you. Is Wednesday at 1:00 the best time, or would you like a different time? We need to know before we schedule this room. Please DM us on Instagram the best time for you.
Anyway, we will figure out our times and we'll post them all on our socials and let you guys know. But we hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and we will be back on Wednesday.
Have a great day, guys.